As a believer, you should be excellent in everything that you do. Why? Because everything that you do reflects who God is. And today we're going to be talking about that core idea, that core principle of being excellent and doing things in a beautiful way because we serve a beautiful God. Now in Colossians 3:23 through 24, it says this. It says, whatever you do heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. So what is this saying? This is saying that in everything that you do, in every job, in every conversation, in every friendship, in every opportunity, you are not serving man. You are not doing things unto other people. You are doing things unto the Lord. And so I think that we have to understand where this separation has come from when it comes to being excellent. As I take a landscape of the world, I feel like a lot of times Christians aren't known for producing excellent things, whether it be in film, whether it be in society, in business. It's like, I don't know. For some reason, we just don't have a reputation of doing things in an excellent way. I think the church has very much gotten segregated to Sundays, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And we feel like all of our gifts and resources and impact has to be just on a Sunday inside the four walls of church. But I think that God has called us to so much more than that. I was on a retreat a couple days ago, and I was in California, and I found myself in a room. This is a crazy story. I found myself in a room with a lot of Christian leaders, and I don't really have, I never have insecurity at a large scale. I have my own things that I work through, but insecurity is never generally something that I really struggle with. But I found myself in this room, guys, and I am telling you, I had the biggest imposter syndrome. I was surrounded by literal CEOs, CFOs, business leaders, authors, like these people that are impacting at such a large scale. And it totally was a God appointment. Like God put me there. There's no other explanation for it. I was looking around and I was like, well, this could only be the Lord that put me in this situation, because there's nothing that I do that deem me worthy of being in this room. But I got inspired because I was like, man, there are so many incredible people in this room that are doing things for the church that maybe not are recognized by other people. And yeah, it's not going to be a pastor on a Sunday platform preaching a message, and they don't have Christian in their title on Instagram or whatever, but they're making a kingdom impact. And so that's where I got this burden to do this podcast episode, because I truly believe it's a high conviction of me that anywhere that you're at in life, you need to be doing things in an excellent manner. Everything that we create, produce, work on, it should point back to the glory of God. But so often Christians struggle with mediocrity because we believe that excellence is only a Sunday thing. We believe that all of our gifts can only be utilized in the walls of church on a Sunday, and anything outside of that is deemed secular and not spiritual and sacred. And so we can't use our gifts unless it's in a church service. And I think that's just very, very counter gospel. I think that doesn't represent the heart of God. I don't think it represents what He's called us to be in this world. And so, this idea that we're struggling with, I think, is compartmentalization. And I don't know if you've ever heard this, but basically compartmentalization is simply you have different boxes, metaphorically speaking, that you put things in. And so like a lot of times what we'll do as believers is we compartmentalize Christianity. And that means that we have our jobs in this box, and we have our friendships and relationships in this box, and then we have our hobbies in this box, and then over here on this box is church and our faith and our walk with the Lord. And if we operate that way, we will slowly start walking towards secularism. Okay? We will slowly start being deceived, and then all of a sudden what happens is these other compartments, job, family, whatever, those will start having an influence in affecting our faith and our walk. That's what we see a lot of people walk away from the faith right? They turn away from walking with the Lord. Why? Is because they've compartmentalized it rather than having something counter what I call a biblical worldview and allowing our view and an understanding of scripture and theology to dictate how we see everything else. So examples of compartmentalization today is simply like low quality Christian media, art, culture, gifts that aren't being utilized except for on a Sunday. Like Christians that feel like their gifts don't have a place. And like artists, filmmakers, musicians who only create for church settings, leaving mainstream media industries to secular voices. And this is what we have done is think about in history, Christians have dominated art. They have dominated science. They have dominated innovation. And what happens in this world where we compartmentalize Christianity instead of having a biblical worldview of everything is it becomes compartmentalized to a Sunday. And then all of a sudden, because our gift doesn't fit in any of these boxes because it's stuck in a Sunday, then we leave these things like science, like art, like film, like creativity to secular voices and secular influences. And that's what we see is all of these mainstream evil agendas, people that aren't promoting a good message in all of these spaces. And they're the best in their craft. And I put that in quotes just because there's a vacuum left there. You know, we have to ask the big question. What if Christianity wasn't meant to be compartmentalized? What if we lived our faith in every area, striving for excellence as a way to honor God? Maybe that's a challenge for you today. Like everything that you do honors God. We got to stop compartmentalizing our faith to Sundays and think that Sunday church service is where I honor God, and then I go into my job, and then I have my friendships and relationships and hobbies, and then all of a sudden I go back. No. We have too many split personality Christians, whereas you honor God in every single area of your life, which means that if you're a good Christian on Sunday and then you treat your wife poorly, you're not honoring God. Okay, yeah, you're good at church and you serve faithfully, but then you treat everybody like crap. No, that's not honoring God. And God is not asking us to separate everything and be a good Christian on Sundays. He's asking us to be a good believer and honor him in everything that we do. There's a dangerous, I call it the sacred versus secular divide that's dangerous. It's dangerous when we as Christians, we divide secular and sacred things. And that has led to the compartmentalization of Sundays that we see, where everything on Sunday is sacred. And so if you're a good musician and you play on band on Sundays, that's really good. You're honoring God. But if you play music outside of that Sundays and you go and perform maybe at a bar, maybe you perform maybe you're a DJ and you perform somewhere that isn't Christian, all of a sudden, no, that's secular. You can't do that. I don't think that's the proper worldview. I think we should take a gift and we should invade all of these spaces with great Christian gifts that come from God. So we shouldn't shy away from culture. We should change culture. We shouldn't retreat from culture. We should innovate and invade culture. Okay, that Jesus is a conqueror. He doesn't hide under tables and desks and hopes that the bad, scary secularism goes away. No. He goes to those dark spaces and shows people what light actually is. So the secular versus sacred divide, it's not healthy because it'll cause you to run away from things that God has called you to redeem. Does that make sense? Like it'll cause you to never be a part of anything else, and then soon we become what? Amish. There's a false belief that ministry is the only work that matters to God. Like if I can't do my gift in ministry, that means I'm not honoring God. That's not true. Your gift is a ministry if you use it out in the world. Bible teaches that all work, Colossians 3:23 says that all work is unto God. So the consequence of compartmentalization has become what we were talking about. There's been a vacuum, and that's where we see a culture and a society and a world that rejects and hates God because all of a sudden, the Christians have stopped being an influence in those areas. And music is filled with terrible messaging and evil agendas. and awful themes, and you have the movie industry, and it's becoming really toxic and destructive, and art even is getting this weird like minimalistic blah like type of no. Everything is meant to be beautiful, and beauty comes from the Lord. Okay, all good things come from God. So that's where we're at, like the consequences. And so this podcast is just like, how do we change this narrative, right? Like, how do we go forward from here? The way that you go forward is I just want to liberate you in this understanding that everything that you do can honor God, even if it's not at church, especially if it's not at church. Like the way that your relationship honors God, your employee status, if you're an employee, if you're an employer, if you own a business, if you are striving to create something, if you're a musician, if you're a stand-up comedian, if you're a construction worker, like all of this stems back to honoring the Lord. Proverbs 22:29 says this: "Do you see a man skillful in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before obscure men." I love this because it's like the skillful hands of a man will elevate him, and he will stand before kings. I'm reminded of the story of Joseph. And Joseph was just really good at what he did in any place that you put him. You threw him, his brothers sold him to slavery, terrible brothers, sold him into slavery, and what happens? He was great, and he rose among the ranks, and then he was in Potiphar's house. Potiphar's wife was super sketchy, tried to sleep with him. He said no, was still honorable, got thrown in prison, prophesied dreams, eventually rose up. The people remembered him, and all of a sudden he was at the second hand of Pharaoh in Egypt. So that's a story of Joseph thriving in every area. Now, he didn't say, "Oh gosh, I had these dreams, and because I'm in this area, like I can't be good and useful and utilize my gift because it's not what I initially thought it would be." No, every place that the Lord put him, he established himself, and he grew, and he was good. We got to shift this mindset, guys. We got to stop limiting creativity to just a Sunday thing. We got to stop limiting a stewardship to just a church thing. Like, please be planted in a church, be serving, be planted in a group, be tithing, all of that. But let's not think that God is so small that every day doesn't honor, like he doesn't own every single day of the week. Encourage others to pursue excellence in every single industry. Like, you should be encouraging the people to your right and to your left that you encounter every day, believers, that they should be excellent in every industry. The best example I can give to this is the Rome. So, I'm fascinated by the Romans. And Rome was a nation that was built on pride and honor. They believed that everything that they put their hands to should be excellent. And we even see this, when Constantine was emperor and Rome became a Christian nation, a Christian empire. I love that their standards of beauty only rose. And so their art was the best. Their infrastructure was the best. Their architecture was the best. Why? Because they knew that the rest of the world viewed them as a Christian empire, and so they were representing Christ. That's why you have someone like Michelangelo that produced amazing works, not just Christian works, but it was inspired and it was a gift given to God, and now it stands the test of time. So what if we had that mindset in our lives? What if we had the mindset that when people look at me, they know that I'm a Christian, so everything I put my hand to has to be beautiful. My relationships have to be beautiful. The way that I steward my job has to honor God. The way that I'm an employee or an employer or a business owner has to be honoring to God. Everything that I do in my life as a husband, as a wife, as a person in ministry, as an artist, as a painter, as an author, as a worker at the McChevron, as a worker at Walmart, everything that I put my hands to has to be beautiful, because that is the greatest witness to people that are looking at my life. Like you have an ability to witness to so many people around you if you would just have the perspective that everything that you put your hands to, you can make beautiful. And people will say, "Man, Spencer, that like I just feel like you work hard and you care for people, and when you talk to people, I can tell, and yeah, you had a bad day, but you're doing all right, and you seem to be happy in your relationships, and you seem to have good friendships. Like, man, what's the secret? And then at that point, I hopefully can tell them it's because, man, I've been called to a high standard because I serve the Lord, and I serve the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, and he's giving me an assignment, and I'm trying to be faithful to that assignment. I mean, that's my prayer and my hope for me and for you, is that we would get to a place where we understand that everything can be excellent. Stop compartmentalizing your faith. Start looking at every single area of your life as a way to honor God. Your physical health can honor God. Your relationships can honor God. The way that you're an employee can honor God. Your time management can honor God. All of these things can build to be an incredible witness to the people around you. Why? Because they look at you and you honor God with everything. So you make everything that you touch beautiful, and therefore people are drawn to that beauty. We've got to stop compartmentalizing. So, the final challenge is this, like, identify areas of your life, right? Identify areas that you're like, you know what, maybe I'm not treating that as excellent because I really don't see that it's honoring God. I've kind of compartmentalized this area of my life, and I've kind of had it separate. Maybe for you, it's actually like getting up in the morning and like not snoozing so much, and not sleeping in, and actually not being a bum. And maybe it's you getting a job, and maybe it's you treating your friends better. Maybe it's you, not resenting your boss at work. Like, these are all practical things. And the thing is, everybody acts like practical things aren't spiritual. Practical things are spiritual. Everything that you do practically that honors God has a spiritual impact. Okay. So like getting up in the morning and not snoozing your alarm is a practical thing that has spiritual impact. Opening your Bible and reading a couple verses when you don't feel like it, that it feels super practical, it's very spiritual. Okay. We got to stop separating this, because then we get in this weird thing where we're very spiritual, but we have no practical discipline. And that's not a healthy place to be. And it's not a place that God wants you to be, frankly. We want to be in a place where we have practical disciplines, practical practices that allow us to be healthy spiritually. That's the goal. So closing thoughts, the world will take notice when Christians lead with excellence. Okay, how do we redeem these areas? Just be excellent and the world will take notice. This is a time where we can innovate, we can create, and we can lead the way of being great in these areas. I hope you like the podcast. Again, we're going to be doing these weekly. Make sure you subscribe. Also, there's going to be a link below. And if you would like to support the ministry, so Spencer Nakamura Ministries is, we are preaching the gospel. The mission statement is, we preach truth in a world full of lies. Okay, there's so many lies in this world, and we are working with through video, through podcasting, YouTube, Instagram, to be able to spread the truth of the love of God in a world full of lies. And if you want to be a part of that, we have many, many partners to the ministry. If you would like to partner with us, there's going to be a link below where you can give a one-time donation, or you can become a monthly partner and just help propel the message forward of preaching truth in a world full of lies. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of the podcast, and we will see you next time.